Armando Baker here.
It's Luke May.
This is Tyler Hansbrough.
University of North Carolina.
Here's North Carolina.
I just want to shout out my boy JBear_YT.
JBear_YT.
It's Carolina family, baby.
Go Heels.
Go Heels.
What's up, boys? Welcome back to another video. And today is the start of the 2021-2022 college basketball season. I'm extremely excited for it. Love college basketball. Carolina should be pretty good this year. We'll see how it goes. But games start tonight, so I had to get this video out right before it happened, right before game started, although Villanova is already playing. But anyways, here we go. We have our preseason NCAA March Madness tournament bracket here. This is from the latest bracketology of Joe Lunardi, I believe. It's the same teams and everything. So we'll get right into it, revealing all these teams here and going game by game and saying who I think will win. So as you can see, we have the field of 68 there. Don't worry, we do go to logos after this to make it more like easy to see. But if the logos were that small, it would just been hard to see. So I just left it like this. Anyways, let's get right into it. Starting over here, we have the left side of the bracket. Gonzaga, I do think will win against Texas, the winner of Texas Southern and Oregon State, obviously. LSU, Syracuse, I'm going to go with Syracuse. I think Syracuse is a fairly underrated team. I think the ACC is going to be the best conference in college basketball this year, and I don't see much in LSU. Oregon, Buffalo, I went with Oregon. Ohio State, New Mexico State, I think Ohio State are going to be really hard to beat after their first round exit last year. And they got some good returning players like E.J. Liddell that I think will be able to get them out of that first 5-12 matchup. St. Bonaventure, Colorado. I'm going to go with St. Bonaventure. A lot of you might go with Colorado here. I think that's fair. But I think St. Bonaventure has a chance to be a good team this year. They got a whole bunch of returning talent, like 6 guys who averaged like 10 or more points last year. Like everyone's coming back, so it should be a really good season for St. Bonaventure. Memphis, Wright State, I went with Memphis, although that could be an upset pick with Memphis' extreme youth. Michigan State, Florida, I went with Michigan State. We'll see how they look tonight against Kansas, I think. Baylor, Colgate, I went with Baylor. And on to the, what would that be? The South? No. I'm not even sure. Midwest. Either way. Michigan, I have beating Yale. Xavier, Notre Dame. I went with Notre Dame. Not high on really either of those teams this year. But I know I went with the ACC tougher schedule in that one pretty much. Is the only reason I went with that. Belmont, I have taking out Florida State in the first round. That's probably my biggest upset pick in the first round. And maybe overall. I know Florida State, they lost some key pieces like, Raekwon Gray, Scotty Barnes, obviously. And obviously, they're still an extremely good and deep team. But I don't know, man. It just seems when they put Florida State in that 4 seed every year, something bad just happens for them. Belmont, I like Belmont. They've always been one of my favorite group of 5 teams when it comes to the tournament. And I think they'll be really good this year as well. Arkansas and Liberty. Speaking of upsets, Liberty, I think, is a really good team, and I think Arkansas might be the most overrated team on this entire board. Honestly, I think a 5 seed is way too high for them. They have 2 5-stars coming in next year, but again, that's next year. I just don't see much in their roster to tell me that's going to be a number 5 seed, especially playing in a fairly tough SEC this year. Auburn against the winner of St. John's and Rutgers, and if you guys watched my last video, I think, you might have heard that I'm high on Rutgers this year, but not quite as high as I am on Auburn. So I did go with Auburn. I think Rutgers can be dangerous if they get to that tournament. It's just tough to be in that play-in round, although UCLA did good with it last year. And then we have Duke beating Southern Utah, Indiana beating Colorado State, and Villanova beating Georgia State there. On to the right side of the bracket, we have Kansas beating Winthrop, Virginia beating out Richmond. I don't think Virginia is very good this year, but I don't think Richmond is I'm not all too high on them either this year. Tennessee, I think, will beat UAB. I have UC Santa Barbara upsetting Houston. I think after last year, where UC Santa Barbara should have been beaten Creighton, I think they'll be ready to come in and be a Houston team that I'm not very high on this year. North Carolina, I think, will beat St. Mary's. Kentucky, I think, will beat Georgia State. Texas Tech and Louisville, I think Louisville will pull that one out. The 10 seed is honestly pretty low for them. I think they could be as high as a 6 seed this year. And I think Purdue will beat Northeastern. UCLA will beat the winner of Bryant and Nicholls State. Virginia Tech is way too underrated here. They're a top 3 team in the ACC in my eyes. I think they're possibly going to be like a 4 seed this year. I think they're really good. Tough task for West Virginia there. Maryland, I think, will beat the winner of San Diego State and Washington State. I think Alabama will beat South Dakota State. I think Loyola Chicago will beat UConn. UConn just lost James Book tonight, and I don't really see all too much what people see in them to make the tournament this year, honestly. And how can you pick against Loyola Chicago ever? Illinois, I think, will beat Furman. USC and BYU, I think BYU will win that one. I think that's really just a gut feeling. I'm not really too high on either of those teams. I think USC is obviously the better team, but who knows? Texas, I think, will beat Iona. Now moving on to the round of 32, I think I'm back on the left side of the bracket. We have Gonzaga beating Syracuse. Tough task for the Bayheims in that game there. I think Ohio State will beat Oregon. The more and more I look at Oregon, I'm just not that high on them this year, I think. St. Bonaventure, I have upsetting Memphis. I think Memphis's youth will really hurt them in that game, and St. Bonaventure's experience will be able to edge them out there. And I think Baylor will beat Michigan State. Michigan, I think, will beat Notre Dame pretty handily. Belmont and Liberty, what a round of 32 matchup we have there. I like Belmont. And I think Duke will beat Auburn in that matchup there. And Indiana, I have upsetting Villanova. Like, keep in mind, Villanova, I don't know what they're doing like right now currently, but I think Trace Jackson Davis for Indiana will be the difference. Out of curiosity, who is winning the Villanova game right now? Oh, they're up by like 20. Okay, anyways, on to the right side of the bracket. I have Kansas beating Virginia, Tennessee beating UC Santa Barbara, Carolina, Kentucky. What a matchup there. Two really historic franchises, two of the best college basketball programs in the nation. I think Carolina's slight more experience will be able to give them the victory there. I don't think anyone's going to be able to stop Armando Bacot on Kentucky's side. I think Purdue will beat Louisville, although that could be an upset pick for me if we get later on to the year and Louisville proves themselves. UCLA, I think, will beat Virginia Tech, although, again, that's an upset I can pick. Because UCLA, I think they're a good team, but Virginia Tech, really underrated. Alabama, I think, will beat Maryland. Loyola Chicago, I have upsetting Illinois there. I mean, how can you pick against Loyola Chicago? And Illinois without Ayudashumu. So, Texas, I think, will beat BYU. Now moving on to the Elite Eight, I have Gonzaga beating Ohio State there. They're just too talented all across the board. I mean, they're not incapable of losing any of these games, but I think they will move on. Baylor, I think, will end St. Bonaventure's kind of Cinderella run, I guess you could say. Michigan, I think, will beat Belmont, ending their Cinderella run. Duke, I have beating Indiana in a game that's two of the top programs in college basketball as well. And in Coach K's final year, I mean, as much as I would want them to not make the tournament, as great as that would be, I really do think Duke has a good team this year. Kansas, on the other side, I think will beat Tennessee. Carolina, I think will upset Purdue. I don't think Purdue's depth is what it needs to be against a Carolina team that should be much improved. If Hubert Davis can push all the right buttons, Carolina's going to be really good this year. UCLA, I think, will beat Alabama, although Alabama, that's a really easy upset pick for me there. And Texas, I think, will end Loyola Chicago's run. Texas with Chris Beard and all those transfers and top recruits, I think they'll be really good this year as well. Now, moving on to the Final Four on the left side, I should say. I have Gonzaga beating Baylor. Baylor just lost too many pieces to get back to the Final Four again, I think. And Duke, I think, will end up beating Michigan in another classic type of rivalry game, which will be really interesting if that ends up happening. Which, obviously, who knows? This is before the season's even started, technically, for most teams. So, and on the right side, I have Kansas ending Carolina's run. Yes, you guys may have thought I was going to be biased, but Kansas is really, really good. I think be fantastic this season. And I think Texas will end UCLA's run. Now, on to the national championship. I think Gonzaga will end up beating Duke, and Kansas will end up beating Texas. I know that's chalky. I understand. I really do. You guys have no idea how close I was to picking UNC versus Duke in the championship. Which, goodness, that'd be just fantastic, assuming they wouldn't lose. But anyways, I think these are, at the end of the day, the two best teams. And winning the national championship, I do have the Kansas Jayhawks. I mean, I honestly am starting to feel for the Gonzaga fans, man. I mean, they just get so close year after year, but they're just not quite there. I mean, I think if they were in a better conference and were tested more throughout the year, they'd be ready for this stuff. But I mean, maybe eventually they'll break through, but it's going to be really tough. I think Kansas has such good depth. They've got good shooting ability, and they're going to be a fantastic team this year. I think they, in this preseason bracket, will win the national championship. So, guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below about this. Please like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do all that YouTube stuff. And also, we're close to approaching 500 subscribers, half 1,000. So, really shout out to you guys for that. Couldn't be here without you. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.